before we went to California, when we lived in Fort Wayne, we had moved from the farm and moved into town. And I don't know why we did that. I'm sure my dad did, but we didn't know. But that's when Bill met Evelyn, and they started dating, and Grace was getting divorced from her husband. He was alcoholic, and I guess didn't treat his family very nice, and so she got a divorce, and Bill and Evelyn kept trying to get Dad and Grace together, and Dad was having none of it, and I don't know about Grace, but anyway, she Dad finally took her to the square dance. I think that was the first date they had. But anyway, they only lived 2 houses down from us, so anyway, they started seeing each other, and they decided they wanted to get married. And I guess Grace and Dad talked it over and decided that it would be more practical if they waited till he got home for them to get married. And I might add here, this is kind of off the beat of the boys and their service, but it goes in with where we're at now in the area. But we lived in an old 2-story house, and it was right on the main street in Fort Wayne. It was called Main Street. And across the street, on our side of the street, it had houses, but on the other side it was commercial. And they had a, they called it Mom's Diner. They had an old, looked like a railroad car, and they had, that's where sometimes we'd go eat at Mom's Diner. And but anyway, we lived there for a little while before we moved to California. But anyway, Flo and Evelyn became pretty good friends, and on cold days they would go over to Evelyn's house and make cocoa, and I guess had toast or something. And I didn't have any friends, and I just wanted to go with Flo. She hated for me to follow her around. Just couldn't stand it. And I could never figure out why because I knew she loved me, and I couldn't figure out why that was, a no-no for go with her where she goes. But anyway, I can remember going over, and the back door was wood halfway up, and then a window at the top part, and I can remember going over there and just looking at them, to please let me in, but they never would.
That's so abused, Mom. That's mean.
But anyway, another thing, while we're on this subject, there, like I said, it was commercial and residential both, but for some reason, there was a grocery store on our side, but it was at the end of the block. There was a house next to him this way, but that way there was none. And so it was called Mulring's Grocery Store. And anyway, we was supposed to get a dinner started or whatever to help the boys and Dad eat when they got home. And so every single night, Flo and I went down and bought 2 pounds of wieners, took them home, put them in a pan of water, and boiled them till there was hardly anything left of them. Because while they were boiling, we were out skating around the block, roller skating. And we had a couple friends there in town that would go skating around the blocks with us, and so we didn't take too much thought into what poor Dad and the boys ate every single night. I could imagine how sick they must have got it. Well, Dad had ulcers so bad too, and hot dogs was one of the things he just could not eat. And of course, us being young, we didn't know that. But he never complained, not even once. Never, well, gee, we have this every night, or I can't eat hot dogs, or whatever. He never ever complained. When we got a little older and moved to California, Flo and I just loved chili dogs, and Dad would take us out every once in a while, and buy us chili dogs, and he would eat one too. And I think back now, because I have stomach trouble now, and I know what it's like to eat something that doesn't agree with you. So I don't know how poor old Dad put up with us for that long, but he did, and he was such a great dad. He never complained and worked as hard as he could and did all he could for his family. There was a drugstore across the street from the grocery store, and my girlfriend Reva, that lived on the next street over from me, her mother would give us a penny every single night of the world, and have Reba and myself walk to the drugstore, buy her a stick of gum. They would open a package and sell it one at a time if that's what you had money for, what you wanted.
They wouldn't do that now.
You know, but anyway, it was funny because you'd think, for she had us go every night and she had a piece of gum every night, you'd think she'd just buy a package, you know, but no, she sat down there. It was also, I remembered this here not long ago. I was taking an Alka-Seltzer, and I thought about that drugstore that, like, people would go in and order an Alka-Seltzer, and they always took and put it in 2 glasses, and they put it back, twisted it back and forth till it you know, melded where it was supposed to be. And I thought that was funny. You could buy one Alka-Seltzer, and that, you know.
Well, can't you imagine them like it was hard to do that they had to...
Yeah. And there was a little apartment above the grocery store, and there was a man that lived up there. I think he maybe was mentally retarded or something, but we didn't know that. We was just kids. But we called him Chicken Coop, and I don't know why we ever picked that name to call him, but that's what we called him. And he would stand in front of the window, and there was no blinds or curtains on. He'd just stand there, and he'd be naked most of the time. And of course, us being little kids like that, we was horrified, you know, and that. Of course, I think I'd be horrified today if somebody stood in front of the window naked. But anyway, my girlfriend that I had there was Reba Wright, and Flo had Evelyn. Then we both had kids our age in the next street over, and I think there was 4 of them, and we used to roller skate around the blocks with them there. And when I think of roller skates, I think of our family when we were very young, before Mom died. We got a pair of roller skates for Christmas. People only got one gift back then. You know, now they don't have, you know, a heap of presents. The kids act like they didn't get anything, but every year we got one thing. And anyway,
Y'all got skates that year, just the girls?
I think it was just the boys.
Oh, the boys. You
Yeah.
didn't get any?
No, we got a Betsy Wetsy doll.
Oh.
So, but anyway, Bill and Bob and I think Jean, maybe. Anyway, part of them got roller skates, and they was just a roller skating up on those hardwood floors upstairs. And it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. They got up to get their present early, and Dad was trying to sleep, and Mom, they'd been up quite late, and Dad come down the stairs and said, "Could you stop that skating till your mom and I get up? We can't sleep with all that noise." So reluctantly, the boys put their skates up till they got up, and they said, felt like the longest period of their life when you have to wait for something, you know. And Flo and I used to go out in the farm, and we had several hollyhock bushes, and we'd go out and pick the flowers off, and you could make ballerinas out of them, you know, look like they're dancing around, and we would make those dolls, and of course they were fresh flowers, so they were dead. They didn't last just for the few hours that you could play with them in one day. But Deb was telling me the other day, she says, kids don't have any imagination, or in other words, everything has to be given to them. Back then you had to make your fun. You had to do the stuff yourself, but it was fun. We did that. It was fun. I can remember playing school with Nan. Back in those days, they don't have the kind of blinds we have now, but they had those cloth ones that you pull down, had a little string to pull it down with and up, and in school, it seemed like every classroom at school had a map, a big map, and the teacher would pull that map down and said, well, this is, and show it. Well, I tried to use a blind for a map, and I used to pull it down and act like I was those teachers, and anyway, poor Nan was little. She hadn't even started school yet, and I'd give her a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I kind of lisped back in those days when I was younger, I guess because I had buck teeth. But anyway,
You don't have buck teeth.
I did.
No.
But anyway, I used to say, make a thee, Nancy, and poor little kid tried to do the best, and I said, that isn't a thee. Poor Nan used to look so abused. But anyway, we played school, and like I said, with the hollyhocks, and the closest neighbor we had would be about like where we live here, and then down to the end of Deer Springs. That's about how big it was, and
What did your dad farm?
I don't know. Isn't that funny that I didn't know?
Huh? Did he work the farm, or was he working just like landscaping?
In Indiana, he farms, and he went into landscaping after Mom died,
Huh.
and but it was just farming, and the boys helped him.
Do you know if he sold his produce?
Do I know what?
If he sold what he grew?
I don't know. Back then, when they had harvest time, they couldn't afford to pay people. Most people couldn't afford to pay you, but what they would do is neighboring farms would come over and help you with your crops to get them ready for market, and then they'd go around and help each other all the time. And you was asking the other day about those big dinners they made and big lunches and stuff, and that wasn't the normal thing to have it like that. But when they had the people from the neighboring farms come and help them with the harvesting, that's when they cooked those great big lunches, and because the men worked hard and they had to have more.
Did they ever sell chickens, or
Did they what?
ever sell chickens or eggs, or?
My mom used to pay tithing like that. We didn't have money, but she would, any money they did get, she'd give cash. But other than that, it'd be like our fast offerings. Like she'd give the church, like chickens and eggs and garden vegetables, because we always had a big garden vegetable garden.
Norm, that cute, they paid tithing with that.
Yeah, she'd share that, and like I said, my mom was religious, but I think she'd do a lot more if she would have been able to get around. But when you walk everywhere you go, it's kind of hard, and that. Mm-hmm. But when Mom was real sick towards the end, Mary would cry because of course they had Mom on morphine. It's the only thing they had, as far as I know, to ease the pain, and they just kept her comfortable, or tried to keep her comfortable without overdosing to kill her. If you get too much drugs, how you die. But anyway, Mary would gave her shots, and I don't know how often they got them, probably every 4 hours or something. But anyway, she used to call Mary in and she says, is it time for my shot yet? You know, and she was hurting, and because she was hurting, Mary hurt right along with her, you know. But Mary gave Mom her baths and took care of her really good. But Mom did an interesting thing, I think, because when you plant potatoes, you have to cut the eye of the potato. You can cut them like in 4 pieces or whatever, but it's got to have an eye on that where you cut it out. So each piece has an eye on it, then you can plant it and it grows. But anyway, and you have to do it a certain time, you know. In fact, even a certain date. But anyway, when Mom was so sick and she's in bed, she got up by herself, which was because she was so weak, which was a miracle in itself. And she went out to that little porch I was talking about where it's screened in, and had that bag of potatoes there, and she was cutting them. And Mary woke up and heard her and seen that she wasn't in bed and asked, Mom, what are you doing? You know, and she says, well, she says, we have to cut these eyes on these potatoes so we can plant them. And Mary said she hadn't thought about it, but the exact day that she did it was when they were supposed to have it done. She had it done. And as sick as she was, I mean, they didn't think she'd remember anything like that. I wouldn't, you know. But Mary's the one that took complete charge of Mom. I guess Margaret was working and Jeannie was in beauty school, so she couldn't do it. But anyway, Mary and Mom, I think, were probably closer than the other girls anyway, you know. And
did your mom live to see any of Mary's kids?
No. She only had one granddaughter she saw, and that was Mary Lou. In fact, we had a picture, Mom and Dad standing on the porch, and Mom's holding Mary Lou.
And Mary Lou and Annie are real close in age, right?
Mm-hmm. I was trying to think when Mary Lou's birthday. It seems to me it's September. And then Nan was born the following August, so it's probably not quite a year. And there's something else. I don't want to tell that.
What about your mama rigging those leaves?
Yeah, when the leaves fell from the trees, we always went out and we'd put them in piles and burn them. And my dad always burned his fields too, and I guess it was put nitrogen or something in the ground, and it was to have better crops and stuff, you know. So they would burn it, and then I guess Dad would take and spread it out on, you know, the acreage that he needed it at. But I remember Mom was raking all those leaves up. I was just little, hadn't started school yet. But she was out raking the leaves, and then she burned them, and of course they burn fast because they're dry, and made a pretty good fire. And she told me, she says, you always have to be a good girl, KK, because if you don't, you have to go live with the devil and burn in hell. I thought, what a horrible thing to say to some little kid, but I guess she was emphasizing she wanted me to be good, you know, and whatever.
By scaring you to death. Now, didn't your mama get run over by a streetcar?
Uh-huh.
And did you tell me, or did I just make it up that I thought that's what caused her cancer?
Yeah, I think somebody said that, but that wasn't it.
No, I knew that they wasn't, but I just
Yeah.
wondered if that's what they thought.
I didn't know that she got ran over by,
Shut them this way next time.
by.
I'm not sure, but I think that she had a miscarriage. I think she was pregnant at the time.
When she got run over?
Mm-hmm.
I
And
mean, how did, do you even know how that happened, or you just knew it happened?
I just knew it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before my time, and it was just that
Was she hurt very bad?
I don't know. They, like I said, I was so little at that
Yeah.
time, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember, did your mama do her wash in those big shoes of your brother's?
Wash what?
On her wash day, didn't you like to go, or was that Mary that did the wash day that you liked to be there?
Oh, me, Mary. Or actually, that was what I was going to tell you, and I forgot. Lost it again. Anyway, Mary and Mom, like I said, Mary first married, lived in Decatur, and her and Mary and Mom rode each other once a week, and Mary had a whole bunch of letters that she was going to give me before she died with cancer, and they were letters that her and Mom had wrote back and forth, and Mary said almost in every letter that she'd say, KK's home from school today, she's had an earache and didn't feel good. But Mary said every letter, so I guess once a week I must have missed school or something, I don't know. But when Mary moved back and was taking care of Mom, I wasn't sick then, I don't just act like I was, because I loved to run those clothes through the wringer, you know, those old-fashioned things, and I liked to iron. And you know, I was 5, 6 years old, just starting school, and you know, most people be worried about the kids burning themselves or the clothes or whatever, but Mary always let me run those clothes through the wringer, and then she would let me help her iron. She'd let me iron all the flat things. You know, she used to iron her socks and her dishcloths. I mean, everything that she washed, she ironed, you know.
Because they look pretty in the drawers,
So
right?
they look nice. She said they just go in the drawer so much better, you know. And, but anyway, I got to iron all the flat pieces, and she'd always let me stay home. She knew darn well I wasn't sick too, you know, but she let me stay home. That's probably why I'm so dumb, because I didn't go to school much.